Hey guys, what's up? It's Biscuit Boo Horror Reviews. Here's a review of a dark comedy micro-budget horror film filmed in 2006. It didn't get its final cut and wide release until this year from director Peter Romeo Lambert, the guy behind Nurse Jill, one of my favorite movies from a few years back. I'm talking about the new Massacre release, Dead American Woman. Damn. Alright, let's get into this. So, this is a horror film about a go-go dancer who is killed in a snuff film and rises from the grave a year later to get revenge. This movie literally opens with Wiley George Finley, who was Grandpa, the creepy old dude in Nurse Jill. He's also Grandpa in this movie. Shitting on the shallow grave of the dead woman, which causes her to rise from the dead. And then he goes home and is sloppily fed dinner by his daughter in a very comedic manner. What else do I have to say to prove right now that this movie isn't for everybody? So, this movie is very obviously shot on a very low budget, and I think it might even be shot on digital video. I'm not going to say that for sure because I don't know for sure. But you can tell that this movie was done on a very low budget. Either way, the acting and writing in this movie are alright, and that's really not the whole reason you're here. You're here to see an interesting story, maybe some gore and nudity, and maybe some weird shit. So that's not the main focus of the movie. The gore effects in this film are pretty well done, and this movie is surprisingly graphic with its gore. It's not like the most gory movie I've ever seen, but compared to Nurse Jill, this movie is pretty damn out there with some scenes. The movie has a rather interesting atmosphere going on that's kind of a mix of like John Waters-esque melodrama and like slasher and revenge film cliches. Even one of the performances in the film is very reminiscent of pretty much every performance Divine has ever given in a John Waters movie. And another character, particularly, the character herself reminds me of Mink Stole in Female Trouble as Taffy Davenport. And from a technical standpoint, this movie looks rather cheap. The audio isn't that great. But these things aren't necessarily the fault of the filmmakers. They're more the fault of shooting on a cheap format, which again, I'm assuming is digital video. So, I will say though, the cheap look does kind of give the movie an interesting aesthetic. There are also some scenes in there that I think are shot, either they're shot with like a really good digital effect thrown on top, or they're actually shot on 8 or 16 millimeter. I can't really tell for sure, so I'm not going to say for sure, but there are some scenes in there that have a very aesthetic, kind of cheap, grindhouse snuff film look, which, I mean, they are the snuff film segments of the movie, so I guess that makes sense. I think the movie's rather well-paced. I don't think this movie is boring. It doesn't have a single boring moment, in my opinion. It's consistently interesting and engaging and entertaining and very enjoyable in a very gross, absurd, kind of John Waters-y way. On the gore meter from 1 to 10, 1 makes it look like Nosferatu, and 10 makes it look like Peter Jackson's Brain Dead, Dead American Woman sits at like a 3.5. It's not ultra-violent, but it's not without a few moments of pretty decently graphic stuff going on. This movie is far more sleazy and wild and graphic, and the ending is completely unexpected and out of left field and off the wall. It's pretty different from Nurse Jill overall. It's, like I said, a lot more sleazy and graphic and wild. And this might turn fans who were into Nurse Jill away from it, but I personally think this helps set the movie apart from Nurse Jill, because Nurse Jill had some sleazy moments, and overall it is an exploitation film, but it kind of feels like a almost kind of classy, like neo-giallo film at times, so the sleaziness is can kind of be excused, very similar to like some giallo films like Suspiria or Deep Red. The sleaziness can be kind of pushed to the side because the movie is a giallo in a way. I would really recommend this one to anybody who is a fan of Nurse Jill. I would say give this one a shot. Same director, and pretty much the same cast and crew too. And if you're also into weird cult movies like Pink Flamingos, Female Trouble, The Greasy Strangler, I'm pretty much naming like nothing but Waters and Waters inspired movies, because this movie in particular has a kind of Waters vibe to it. That being said, I'm going to be bold enough to say that Peter Romeo Lambert is probably the John Waters of this century. He's doing a really good job for himself with these movies, and he's proving that he has a vision all his own. That being said, I'm going to give Dead American Woman a 4 out of 5. And with that, that is the end of the review. Anyway, guys, this is Biscuit Boo Horror Reviews, signing off. Peace.